And welcome back once again to the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Critical Mode Any% Speedrun tutorial. In this episode, we are going to be covering the second visit to Halloween Town, which comes right after Port Royal 2. Unlike in our first visits, we go here first before Agrabah, and let's get into it. We're going to immediately start off with a quick menu here. The first thing you'll do is you'll pull Jack out of the party, so it's just Donald and Goofy. Then we're going to go into abilities, go to Donald's abilities. We are going to turn Cure back on, turn off Comet or Fantasia, and turn on Flare Force, which is Duck Flare. And if you know the run, you're going to realize that we are using this ability a lot for the rest of it. So yeah, turning on Duck Flare for Donald, then we're going to back out and go into the Customize menu. And then we are going to turn Blizzard back to Magnet, which we had changed in, well, actually in Beast Castle, but right before Port Royal 2. We're going to switch Blizzard back to Magnet. Again, as I've said about customization, you won't necessarily have yours be on triangle. That's just where I have mine. Free form expression here. But yeah, Blizzard back to Magnet customized. Then we're going to turn Jack to party attack and Goofy to party attack. Jack, we can click on the customize and go into it and press up twice to get to Sora attack. On Goofy, he's already on party attack, so just one triangle press on party attack will move him to Sora attack. And just letting you do the menu a little bit quicker, a few less inputs. But yeah, that's the menu. And we are going to go into our first fight, which is Lock, Shock, and Barrel. Switch your command menu over to the limit side because we are going to be using Magnet Trinity Limit, as you've probably seen us use quite a bit. First thing you're going to do is lock on immediately. You'll lock on to Barrel, cast a Magnet, and then go into Immediate Trinity, Major Drive. Most of the time, I'd say like 8 out of 10 times, you'll pick up all three of them. You'll just use the Major Drive, and that'll basically be the end of the fight. Occasionally, Shock will be an asshole and walk directly to the left at the start and won't get caught in the magnet. If that happens, go ahead and do the Major Drive, but you need to do an Ultima afterwards in order to be able to kill her as well with the Trinity Limit. It loses time. It's really shitty, but there's nothing you can do about it. Totally random. Not your fault. So yeah, lock on, Magnet, Major Drive. Once the Major Drive finishes, I take like 2 steps forward before I use the finisher. The reason I do that is because afterwards we're going to have to knock all 3 kids into the boxes. If you don't take those steps forwards, they're going to end up in a spot where it's going to be incredibly hard to reach the last kid with the final box that's directly in front of you. So just taking those 2 steps allows you to be able to reach in just one swing much easier. And yeah, that's it. The finisher will knock them all out and knock them into the boxes in the order that seems best. So I picked Barrel there, Shock here, move over and lock. And then after that, after you do that final RC, we're going to go into our party and replace Donald with Jack. So just doing it mid-fight, save a little bit of time. Boom. That's all that fight. And now we are about to see the fruits of our labor in Beast Castle come into play. If you remember, we went in and out of the West Hall 3 times, or 4 times if the bulky vendor had appeared. But we did that in order to ensure that a bulky vendor would appear here in Halloween Town. And if you did it correctly, it will. You'll go quick run forward, use the reaction command that kickstarts the carousel. Then we're going to summon Stitch and pick up this first bulky vendor. So we pick it up, get the experience from it. Now this Jack-in-the-Box will jump over and hit you twice. After it hits you the second time, we're going to aerial recovery and go get the next bulky vendor, which is on the exact opposite side of the carousel here. The reason we summon Stitch is because after we get hit here, we're saved by Once More. Having Once More on allows us to take these 2 hits and puts us into EXP boost range with our health. Stitch will then start ukuleleing all the enemies and keep them incapacitated while we go and pick up the other bulky vendor. And because we're in experience boost range, we'll be able to get the 3,700 experience out of this next guy. So bang, bang, aerial recovery, pick up this guy. Sometimes he'll get away from you. Worked well for me there that I was able to quickly get over and grab him, but sometimes he will get away. Boom. And that's going to put us in a hopefully good spot for experience come Agrabah 2. So now we're just doing some movement. Hop on the skateboard. Hop on this next skateboard. And gonna quickly go into present collection. So this fight, really quick, we're going to step forward and reflect whatever attack this white knight does. He'll either do his quick overhead arm spin or his slow jump and whip attack. Regardless, be ready to reflect it. If he does the slower attack, you might want to do 2 reflects just to make sure you get it out. And before the reflect goes off, immediately go into dance call, which is why we brought in Jack. So reflect and then immediate dance call. So what dance call does is it pulls all of the enemies in, and our reflect goes off on all 4 white knights once they're pulled in, which is a really elegant way to do half their damage, and then the rest of their damage we're going to do with the dance call. What you want to do is first collect them all during this part where it's just Sora spinning. Once Jack gets on top as well, that's when you're able to use the triangle and X presses. We kind of want to pull the enemies over towards the gate area, as you see me do here. They'll take damage just during the spinning, but also go ahead and do a synchronization or 2. And once you've killed all 4 of them, and make sure you've killed all 4 of them, then you can stop the limit and pick up the presents that they drop. Once you kill 3 of the 4, I believe it is, the 2 Jack-in-the-Boxes spawn. So you want to make sure you kill them all simultaneously so you can quickly pick up the presents before the Jack-in-the-Boxes come and end your day. If you're lucky as well during this dance call, we're still in EXP boost range. We might EXP boost a couple of these guys. It's not, strictly speaking, necessary, but it doesn't hurt. More experience is always good. So we'll see if that happens, hopefully. And then, all right, we've killed them all. Revert and pick up the presents, and that's the entirety of present collection. And now we go into the absolute RNG hell that is present minigame. So first, I'm going to pull Jack out of the party and have Donald and Goofy before going into this, just so I'm ready to have Donald and Goofy before the experiment fight. But yeah, we're going to go into present minigame. And this is the true RNG hell of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's one of the only cases where it exists. But the presents that drop are totally random. You obviously want the big brown boxes or the big green boxes, and the small red and yellow boxes are much slower. There's not too much I need to say about this aside from, you know, shoot the boxes to the best of your ability. The only thing I will say is when Lock, Shock, and Barrel spawn, make sure you kill them immediately. Don't mess around. They spawn at consistent times, so you'll know when they're coming. Immediately go and take them out. I believe it's 5 presents to knock them out. So you just see me shooting here. You know, prioritize big boxes if you see them. But I'm not joking when I say this minigame can range in time save by like nearly 25 seconds. Sometimes you can like finish before Shock even comes out, like well before Shock even comes out with really good RNG. Sometimes you got to be playing with Barrel out for a while. Like there's a real range and it's really out of your control. The best you can do, take out these dudes when they appear. So I've seen Locke is coming out. When he lands, I'm going to shoot him and move on to getting all the boxes. Not much to say, just shooting. All right. When you hear that da 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 da, that's when that's when Shock is about to come out. So I'm looking for where she's going to spawn and taking her out immediately. And if you took Locke out immediately, basically the moment you take out Shock, Locke will be reviving. It's like 2 seconds later. So just be prepared to take him out again. So see, I'm ready to take him out and shooting the rest of the boxes to finish it off. So this would I would consider this to be about average. A little, so finishing the fight a little after shock. You know, maybe if you lose like 8 seconds to the absolute best RNG, but you're not getting destroyed and you're not seeing barrel at all. So I'd be pretty happy about this. But that's all there is for present collection. Really simple, really stupid. But we move on to the final fight in this world, which is experiment. So talk to Santa to start the fight. And we are going to immediately open with our newfound best friend, Duck Flare. So lock on. We're going to start the fight by locking on immediately and going into Duck Flare immediately, but don't move. If you take even like one step forward, Experiment's first shockwave attack will hit you. You'll get knocked up into the air, and it's annoying. It's not a big deal, but, you know, just don't move so you avoid it. So lock on immediately into the Duck Flare. Now we're going to go into a full combo. Aerial dive, horizontal slash, double or triple finisher. Honestly, doesn't matter. We're going to do one rocket flare in between. During either your first horizontal slash or your aerial dive. Depends when it comes available. I'm usually just mashing triangle to make sure it comes out immediately at the same time as I'm doing my attack inputs. And then once you do either your second or third finisher, you go into Mega Duck Flare. And now we're seeing something I mentioned briefly during Space Paranoids, the hostile program fight, is damage amplification that comes with Duck Flare, as well as Comet. As Donald's Mega Duck Flare is going, it itself is doing a lot of damage, but something that's interesting about Aerial Dive and Aerial Spiral, as I said in that previous video, I'm going to go over it again, those attacks that have multiple hits, usually the way it works is the first hit connects, does a solid chunk of damage, and then every hit after that does less. So this is just random numbers, but let's see the first hit does 3 damage and the next hits do 1 damage. While the Mega Duck Flare is going on, and while it's hitting over and over and over, every hit from Aerial Dive and Aerial Spiral is now doing that full 3 damage. So instead of 3-1-1, it's 3-3-3 with Aerial Spiral. And the same thing with Aerial Dive, only obviously Aerial Dive does a lot more hits. So instead of just like doing air combos at the same time as this Duck Flare is happening, we're only going to be doing Aerial Dives and Aerial Spirals. And all of this damage is going to be enough to hit the Experiment's health barrier, in which it stops taking damage and then is going to do its lunge attack and then eventually reform itself together so you're able to break it apart again. So basically, I'm just going to be doing these Aerial Dive, Aerial Spirals. I clanked here once. It's not a big deal. You've got plenty of damage to get. So yeah, I parried there. Whatever. Actually parried a couple times, but his health barrier is at 4.5 bars. I was able to hit it easily, even with those parries. Not a big deal. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quick run this in the direction I just quick ran. I'm going to quick run kind of to the left of this Christmas tree. You want to be on that side of the arena so that he lunges towards you. I guard that just in case. If your Duck Flare ended earlier, there's a chance that might damage you. So just guard it to be safe. And then once he is stopped, I'm going to go up, attack him, do 2 horizontal slashes into a finisher. And then that finisher should be timed well enough that he becomes vulnerable again, and that breaks him apart. And that will start the part where you have to pick up the head or pick up the body and reform it with the head. Right when we land from that finisher that broke him apart, I'm going to summon Stitch. The reason I do this is because Stitch can give us back MP. So we're going to give him a chance to give us a free MP refill. Sometimes he cooperates, sometimes he doesn't. Hopefully he will, and we won't have to use an ether. But if he doesn't, we'll throw an ether. So you'll just keep an eye out for that. And all this is doing is hoping to save you an ether. So we broke him apart. We're summoning Stitch. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get behind the head over to this direction so that when it attacks, it's going to push beyond us. And then we will immediately be ready to use the reaction command and throw the body back into the head. So this is the arm here. The head is directly behind me. The way this kick spring reaction command works, Sora will throw the body in the opposite direction from where he picked it up. So if he picked it up over on this side, he'll throw it this way. And if he picks it up over on this side, he's going to throw it this way. Or I'm sorry, if he picks it up here, he'd throw it that way. If he picks it up here, he'd throw it that way. If he picks it up here, which is where we want, he's going to throw it that way, and that's going to go into the head. So I'm going to get around the body. Also, sorry, I didn't mention as well. Get around, guard that attack. It comes at you, and you need the iframe so you have time to get around. Also, you don't want to get hit, obviously. You'll probably die if you get hit by it, so you need to guard that attack. Then get around, throw the body. Has Stitch given me MP yet? No, he hasn't, so I gave up on him. I dismissed him, I threw an ether, and now I'm going to immediately go into Duck Flare when I have my MP back. It takes a little bit of time for it to come fully back, so I have to stall a little bit. Don't get too up close to him or else he might punch you, kill you, or Donald. So while you're waiting for your MP back, just wait for a second. But then we're going to go into the Duck Flare combo. Same thing as what we did with the very first combo of this fight. Going into the Duck Flare, aerial dive. We're going to use one flare in between, two horizontal slashes, triple finisher, and then go into Mega Duck Flare and start doing the aerial dives, aerial spirals again. So there's the flare. Boom. Aerial dive, aerial spiral. And what we want to do here is we want to do 2 aerial dives and 2 aerial spirals. However, the experiment is only barely off the ground, so sometimes you won't get it. That's not a big deal. We're not super tight on damage, but I'm just saying sometimes you won't. But you need to be aware of what to do if you don't. So normally the way it goes, we'll do 2 sets of aerial dive, aerial spirals. We'll land and throw 2 ethers. I did 1 set of aerial dive, aerial spiral. Let me go back. Mega Duck Flare, aerial dive, aerial spiral. I like to take a step back. That gives you better odds of the aerial dive coming out. But unfortunately, I got a flash step here. And then I got an aerial dive. So I'm going to count this flash step aerial dive as the same speed as doing an aerial dive, aerial spiral. So I'm going to land after this aerial dive and throw my 2 ethers. 1 ether, 2 ether. Reflect. He's going to immediately retaliate here. We're going to reflect it. We're going to do a thunder. And then we're going to do a finishing leap and go into Duck Flare again. So let's see what that looks like. Reflect, thunder, finishing leap, Duck Flare again. Same combo. Same combo there with the... So, finishing leap, Duck Flare, aerial spiral. We're going to do the horizontal slash, the flare coming out during the horizontal slashes, 3 finishers, and then Mega Duck Flare. Bomb, 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 Mega Duck Flare. Hopefully to get the aerial dive, aerial spiral again. Once you hit this health point, where he's only got 1 bar left and it's at the L, he's going to break one more time into the final piece. He's invulnerable during this time, so we're just going to wait on the ground for him to become vulnerable again, and then continue doing aerial dive, aerial spiral, and that plus a horizontal slash will be enough to finish off his last bit of health. So starts hitting again. Boom. That's the end of Halloween Town 2. Pretty quick visit. Most of these fights are pretty straightforward, not too much to them, but might take you a little bit to get the sequence down. That aerial dive, aerial spiral with Mega Duck Flare is something we're going to see a ton throughout the rest of this run, so just be aware of it. But I think that's all I've got to cover about this world, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.